Even though we have known about climate change and the impact of deforestation for decades now, we're still clearing forests at an alarming rate. In the last 30 years, we're estimated to have lost 420 million hectares of forest. That's an area more than twice as big as Greenland, or half as big as Brazil, the fifth largest country in the world. So why is this still happening? And what's being done to stop it?
My name is Joe Anderson. I'm one of the founders and directors of Carbon Tanzania. So Carbon Tanzania is a social enterprise. We are a company that works primarily in Tanzania, in East Africa. And our primary goal is to protect natural forests. And specifically, we concentrate on forests that are owned and lived in and around by indigenous rural people.
Tanzania is one of the countries that has been hit the hardest by deforestation. In the year 1990, forests made up 63% of the total area of Tanzania. Today, that number is 52. In this period, Tanzania has lost more than 103,000 square kilometers of forest, which is roughly the size of Iceland. What are the driving forces behind this? Agriculture is the main culprit, accounting for 80% of deforestation in Tanzania. With a growing and hungry population, the forest and its inhabitants have had to give way to provide the people with food, firewood, and living space. This is where Carbon Tanzania come in.
We work in several areas of Tanzania to develop projects that create emission reductions through the Plan Vivo and the VCS standard. And to do that, we work very closely with communities, developing their land rights, their tenure rights.
This is Mark Baker, co-founder and director of operations at Carbon Tanzania.
We started about 11 years ago on Yaida Valley, putting in place land use plans so that the communities, the Hadza communities there, own both the land and the resource in which they depend. And those land use plans form the basis of developing the Plan Vivo Yaida Valley RED project.
The protected area is called the Yaida Valley, and it's home to a group of indigenous people called the Hadza, which means human being. Indigenous people make up only 5% of the world population, yet they protect 80% of the world's biodiversity. Even though they are the ones contributing the least to global greenhouse emissions, they're among those expected to be hit the hardest by climate change. So how exactly does deforestation lead to climate change? Every tree absorbs and stores a certain amount of carbon as part of the carbon cycle. As we cut down the trees, they're no longer able to absorb any carbon dioxide, and if left to rot or burn, they instead release all the carbon that they've stored. The land is then cleared and often used for agriculture, contributing even more to climate change. In fact, some estimates say that if tropical deforestation were a country, it would be the third largest emitter of greenhouse gases in the world, accounting for around 15% of all global emissions. In Tanzania, it accounts for more than half.
To understand deforestation in Tanzania, we can go back to about 1970 in an accurate sense, but deforestation in Tanzania is high. The average, the national baseline is 1.2%, but at a regional level, it's between 2.5 and 3%. That's 400 to 500,000 hectares a year of deforestation, amounting to about 80 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent.
According to the IPCC, reducing deforestation and forest degradation rates represents one of the most effective and robust options for climate change mitigation. But it isn't only the climate that's being affected negatively. Forests are crucial in protecting the Earth's ecosystems. They are home to almost 90% of the world's terrestrial biodiversity. And by removing the forest, we're also removing animals from their natural habitats, driving them towards extinction.
Kwa jina naitwa Isaac Bryson. Mimi ni manager wa mradi wa carbon kwenye kampuni ya Carbon Tanzania. Mradi wa carbon kama tulivyosema awali unasaidia kusimamia jamii kutunza mazingira yao. Kwa hiyo katika utunzaji wa mazingira ambao ni misitu, wanyamapori makazi yao makubwa ni mazingira ambayo yametunzwa.
In 2019, the Hadzabe were awarded the UN Equator Prize for their work in developing nature-based solutions to climate change and promoting sustainable development. But how does a conservation project like this create revenue? And where does it go?
The way we fund the work is by creating what's called a verified emission reduction or a carbon offset, which can be sold to voluntary buyers who wish to compensate their carbon impacts. And the money thereby generated is shared between us for project implementation and the community themselves, who benefit from the revenues in many different ways.
Mapato yatokanayo na biashara ya mradi wa carbon yanawasaidia wananchi katika kuendesha mambo mbalimbali muhimu. Kwanza, inasaidia katika kuwasapoti wananchi kwenye masuala ya afya. Pia inasaidia kuwasapoti wananchi kwenye masuala ya elimu. Na pia inasaidia kuwasapoti wananchi katika kufanya shughuli zile za kimaendeleo ya serikali. Kwa mfano kusimamia kusapoti serikali katika kutekeleza shughuli zile, miradi ile ya kimaendeleo.
Thanks to this project, we've managed to prevent more carbon from being released into the atmosphere, protect our indispensable biodiversity, and stand up for indigenous rights and climate justice. We're facing our greatest challenge yet, and there are no silver bullets when it comes to solutions. But by protecting the forests we already have through projects like this, we still have a fighting chance.